I cannot believe that I'm getting ready to go to Israel. Today is the day. This is crazy. Well, Israel has been one of the places that I've always wanted to go. Kind of like a bucket list thing, especially with me being a Christian, you know, just being able to walk and experience the land that Jesus actually lived in. This is really a great opportunity, and it came at no better time than this time that's coming back the day before my 30th birthday. Like, yeah. In a way, I kind of feel like God is just like, hey, here's a birthday gift, you know, happy 30th. The funny thing is, I wanted to do something big for my 30th birthday, and I have to say, this is big. But yeah, I'm so excited. I had to wake up at like 4:50 this morning, and I fly into JFK airport. I'll actually be there for a very long time. We leave out at 11:45 p.m. tonight. I am so excited. I should get to JFK, they say approximately 10:30ish. So I will definitely be in the airport at New York for a very long time. But yeah, I am looking forward to what God is going to do during this time, and I'm just really looking to see the Bible come alive, you know, which the Bible is already live, and it's active, sharper than a two-edged sword, but just being able to experience the things that I've read about will be very cool. So yeah, I'm excited.
And approximately 13 hours, a gate change, and a song later, I, along with my Israel and HD family, boarded the plane for Tel Aviv.
I want to see your kingdom come. Not my will, but yours be done. Not my will, but yours be done.
Alright, so it's Saturday morning, November 12th. Spent my first night in Israel at the King Solomon Hotel. And as we know, King Solomon was the wisest king. And he was also King David's son. He built the temple for the Lord. It is such a beautiful view, as we can see.
Is that supposed to be a live?
He says, God, O Lord, God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, prove today that you are God in Israel, and that I am your servant. Prove that I have done all this at your command. Oh Lord, answer me so these people will know, not that I get the fame, not that I get the glory, so that they will know that you, O Lord, are God, and that you have brought them back to yourself. Immediately the fire of the Lord flashed down from heaven and burned up the young bull, the wood, the stones, and the dust. And I like this part. It even licked up all the water in the trench. It's like God just said, I'm just going to show out. I'm just going to show y'all what I can do. Not only did he consume the sacrifice, he consumed the water and everything. And it says here, and when all the people saw it, they fell down, face down on the ground, and cried out, the Lord, he is God. Yes, the Lord is God.
A common theme here in Israel is building churches over what they deem as holy sites. So this is the Church of the Annunciation, and it's built over this site traditionally revered as the place where the angel Gabriel announced to Mary that she'd be the mother of Jesus. An interesting thing about this church is they have various depictions of Mary and Jesus made by countries all over the world.
They went out into the boat. They fished all night. How much did they catch? Nothing. Is that an accident?
No.
Not an accident. Why? Because Jesus is up to something. Because he's got plans for Peter. And I want you to remember this. He's got plans for Peter. And some of us, we think that Jesus uses only perfect people. But you got to have every I dotted, every T crossed. Jesus knew from the foundation of the world that Peter would deny him, but he had plans for him. So here's Peter. He catches nothing. Verse 4, but when day came, Jesus stood on the shore. The disciples didn't know it was him. Jesus said to them, hey, you got anything to eat? They said, no. Did you find any fish? No, we didn't catch anything. So Jesus says to them, throw your net on the other side of the boat, and what happened?
Filled up.
Net was full, so full that they had trouble getting it to the shore. They get it to the shore. Was it exactly in this spot? We don't know. But this was the sea, and it was on the shores of this body of water somewhere. Leaving Nazareth, he came and he settled in Capernaum. Where are we now? Capernaum, which is by the sea in the region of Zebulun and Naphtali. This happened so that what was spoken through the prophet Isaiah might be fulfilled. Where is that prophecy? Isaiah chapter 9, verse number 2. All right, what is that prophecy? The land of Zebulun, the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea on the other side of the Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. He relocated intentionally to be in Capernaum. Why? To fulfill the Old Testament prophecy? Yes, Isaiah 9:2. Well, what was the prophecy? That in this place there are many Gentiles. He doesn't open his mouth and proclaim one word until he is repositioned physically in the midst of a crowd that is both Jew and Gentile. So that we can ask the question, if I'm not fishing for people, am I truly following Jesus? Jesus said, if you follow me, truly follow me, he said, I will make you the fisher of men. This is the launching of his ministry right here in Capernaum, where we are.
These are the Magdala village remains, the village where they believe Mary Magdala lived. These are the remains of the ancient synagogue, which dates back to the time period of Jesus. It's pretty likely that he may have been in this particular synagogue.
Can you imagine? All these people watching this, and it came out of him without doing him any harm. And amazement came upon them all, and they began talking to one another, saying, what is this message? What is this message? For with authority and power he commands the unclean spirits, and they come out. And the news about him was spreading into every locality of the surrounding region. Jesus was relentless. Yes, he was on task. He had a mission. He knew what he was here for. He was executing without any fear for his life. I mean, what can you do to a man who has power over death, hell, the grave, and sin?
Hello.
No question. Some of the other sides say my question. No question in this one. We know this one.
Verse 35, and on that day, when evening came, he said to them, let's go over to the other side.
Yeah.
What was he saying to them? They got in a boat on this water. It was not uncommon for people to be on this water fishing. But to say to go over to the other side, you heard Marla say, matter of fact, you don't know this, but where we have departed from today, we had to come around to the other side because of the wind conditions. It was too windy. Where we wanted to depart from, because that happens here. And if a real wind would arise like it did when Jesus was with his disciples on this boat, it's trouble. Fishermen knew that they would go out into this water on the sea, but they wouldn't go so far that if a storm arose suddenly, they couldn't get back quickly to the shore from which they departed. So this is the context. Here we are, Mark chapter 4, verse number 36. After dismissing the crowd, they took him along with them in the boat, just as he was, and other boats were with him. And a fierce gale of wind developed, and the waves were breaking over the boat so much that the boat was already filling up with water. And yet Jesus himself was in the stern, the lower part of the ship, and what was he doing? Asleep on the cushion. And they woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" And he got up. Get that careful. He rebuked the wind and he spoke to the sea. The old Baptist preacher would like to take it home right there with peace, be still. Sooner than right now and quicker than at once. There was a great calm.
All right now.
They take it home from right there. And church be over, the choir be singing it. It's time. But I don't want us to miss that there's more to the story. And the wind died down and became perfectly calm. And he said to them, "Why are you afraid? And where is your faith?" What happens when we find ourselves in the storms of life? We're tempted, like them, to be afraid, to forget that there are two words that begin with the letter F. You cannot have both of them occupy your space, your spiritual space at the same time. Faith and fear. Either you're going to be fearful and the fear will eclipse your faith, or you choose to be full of faith that eclipses and outshines any fear. I think one of the lessons for us from this passage is that Jesus wants us to remember, first of all, that every storm in life is temporary. Whether it's relational, financial, physical, they are temporary. They don't last forever. You might feel like you're going to go under and that you won't survive it, but every storm is temporary. I think another lesson Jesus wants us to get is that when we find ourselves in the midst of the storm, remember to exercise faith and not fear. You have to remember to invite Jesus with you to be on your journey of life, but you got to do it on his terms. Some of us like Jesus in our lives like an insurance policy. Use only when necessary.
Come on now.
But Jesus wants to be in our lives as Lord, as Savior, as Master, as Boss. And when we allow him to be in our lives on his terms, he gets us through every storm. He came into this region of Caesarea Philippi, and here's this impressive looking rock. And the master teacher decides, I think I'll use this rock to help my disciples get this lesson. And so he begins to ask them, hey, what's the word on the street? And they began to respond. Some of them say you Elijah, one of the prophets. Some of them say you crazy, Jesus. There's our man, Peter again. He speaks up and he says, you're the Christ, the Son of the living God. And Jesus turns to Peter. He took Peter's name, which means Petros, rock. And here he is with this backdrop. He says, on this rock, this confession that I am the Christ, I will build my church. I'm going to build my church on a rock. That's your confession, Peter, not you. The very gates of hell will not prevail against it. Jesus is the master teacher. He's using an object lesson that we can all see. His disciples could see. And he gives them a lesson. I'm going to build my church. The gates of hell will not prevail against it. And I'm going to give you the keys of the kingdom. There's that word again, kingdom. Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 through 16. You people are like light in the world, a city built on a hill which will not go unnoticed. Neither does a person light an olive oil lamp and place it under a bowl, but on a lampstand where it can illuminate everything in the house. In that same way, you should allow your light, i.e. your influence, to shine in front of people so that they will see your good deeds and be led to honor your Father who is in heaven.
Guys, thank you, Leroy. Yeah. What a little bit of light does in a dark room, and what a little bit of light of good deeds can do in a sometimes dark world. Right. Most of you, God forbid. Okay, here we go.
And so what Jesus is doing in this first major sermon of his ministry is he's outlining some principles about his kingdom. And he goes on and he talks about you and I are the salt and light of the earth. And so he's saying, hey, just like salt provides flavor, right? It enhances the flavor. He says in the same way, this is how you should influence the culture around you.
Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. All this I will give you, he said, if you will bow down and worship me. Jesus said to him, away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. One of the things that stuck out to me were the impressive building projects built under King Herod. I mean, these pictures and videos do not do his work any justice. So this is Herodium, which was one of his palaces that he later turned into his burial site. Herod was a Roman Jewish client king of Judea, and aside from his architectural work, he's also known as the king who attempted to kill baby Jesus.
So we go from Bethlehem, where Jesus was born, right? In Bethlehem. Now let's fast forward all the way to the end of his earthly life. And we find ourselves in this garden. What is it that you have to endure? What's your cup of suffering right now? Whatever it is, it doesn't measure up to what Jesus did for us. If Jesus could do that for me, can I endure this for him? Whatever the this is.
So here we are ascending to Masada, another ancient fortification built under King Herod. This is the cave sites where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, which I found to be pretty cool because the Dead Sea Scrolls include the oldest surviving manuscripts of books of the Bible.
Hey! There they go. Look out, knocked over the chair.
And another one. This is the remains of another structure built under King Herod. Caesarea Maritima was both an ancient city and harbor.
What can wash away my sin? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. What can make me?
And he asked you, do you want to be made well? And this fella gives him an excuse. So Jesus says to him, stand up, pick up your mat, and walk. Instantly, the man was healed. Yes. Rolled up his sleeping mat and began walking.
We took what's traditionally called the processional route Jesus would have taken on his way to his crucifixion, called the Via Dolorosa. The Via Dolorosa path leads to the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, which for years has been said to be the location of Christ's crucifixion. This particular rock the lady is laying over is where many traditionally believe Jesus' body was laid and prepared for burial. I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with the culture and food while there. A lot of religious practices to me seem to be a way of life. Like, even if there are people who are not religious or don't adhere to Judaism, some of the practices seem to me to be more so of a cultural standard. Such as in the hotels and homes, you'll see mezuzahs affixed to doorposts as a reference to Deuteronomy 6:9. And in our hotels, twin-size beds were placed together for separation during the time of a female's cycle, which is another Orthodox biblical practice. And during Shabbat or the Sabbath, many places shut down and not many people are on the roads driving. I noticed this to be true for the majority of the places, with the exception of our time in Tel Aviv. Then there's the food and kosher. A thing I learned about kosher is they don't serve or eat dairy products with meat. Dairy products are usually served in the morning and meat is served during lunch and dinner. So if you think you're going there to order a cheeseburger at a kosher McDonald's, you might want to think again.
And it tells us this, and I love these words, and when John went in and saw the exact same thing that Peter saw, he said, and he believed. In other words, everything Jesus had been telling them all came into John's mind, and he remembered what Jesus had said. And when he saw that, he believed. He believed that Jesus was no longer there, but he was alive. And I really hope when you go down into that tomb that that's kind of the posture of your heart as you go in there, that you're remembering that you are serving a Savior who is risen. He's not a dead guy on a cross. He is God. He's alive. He's at the right hand of God. And because of that, you and I have so much hope for whatever happens in our lives. Because this is not the end of our story. This is the beginning of our story. And I just know that whatever trials God is going to bring into your life, He's got purpose in them. Nothing is going to come to you that has not passed before Him, first of all. And when it does, you can have just great joy, even in the midst of suffering, of knowing that God has a purpose for what He's allowing into your life. What He's allowing really is that He wants to bring glory to Himself, because that's where the glory all belongs to Him.
After 9 days of touring and 8 nights, our journey in Israel came to an end, and we celebrated with a farewell dinner in Tel Aviv. And in true Israel in HD fashion, we went out with a song. This was truly an unforgettable experience. The videos and pictures does not do this place and my experience in Israel any justice. I believe it is a place you have to experience yourself, like at least once. There's such a wealth of history, and as a Christian, it causes you to place a lot of things into the correct perspective when speaking and thinking biblically. Visibly seeing, touching, and experiencing firsthand the things and places I've read about has been a blessing, and I'm so thankful to God for the provisions made for this to even be possible. I'm also thankful for the amazing group of individuals I took this journey with, whom I'm delighted to call not only friends but family. To God be all the glory.